So let's play a little game of trivia. Is it nature? Is it nurture? Is it people pleasing? Is it a lack of boundaries? Is it a fear of being alone? Your mothering nature. What is actually at the root of it? Let's get into it. Mother's Day weekend is Mental Health Awareness Month. I love that these two things are in the same month because I think in a lot of ways to be motherly, even if you don't have children, is such a thing that everyone desires, right? Gender aside. Everybody you meet wants to be taken care of. However, when it comes time for us to show up for other people, that's where we get into the the nooks and crannies of why we cannot, our inability to, or our willingness to, okay? If you are the type of person that goes through life trying to make sure that everybody else is good, some of your habits may not always feel good to you. When it comes to having this mother nature, being caring, being thoughtful in a very healthy way, and sometimes unhealthy ways, it's very easy to get sucked into this good or bad dynamic. I'm good, they're bad. Or this person is treating me horribly and I'm just looking to take care of them. Or I deserve good because I am willing to give so much of myself. However, we may overlook what it is that we're actually giving and who to, and did they even ask? The thing about being a caring person is we have to care about what it is that we are showing up with and for who. Because a lot of times we will lend ourselves into a space of abandonment very quickly, right? And it's easy to say what other people are not doing, but it's like, how are these people able to do that if you're not participating? And when it comes to being a nurturer, what does that look like for you? How do you define being a nurturer? Thoughtful. I'm always the one that everybody can depend on. I'm reliable. And then you go a little bit deeper. I'm also hyper independent, so I can take care of my own needs and no one ever has to worry about me, but I'm always there for everybody else. And I am here to help you guys rewrite that for the sake of all things that are good in this world. Please get rid of this idea that you are meant to serve this world in such a way where you give all of yourself and there is nothing for you to desire in return. It's manipulative. Anyone who tells you that you should give, you should continue to give without expectations is a person that demands you give to them without expecting anything in return, okay? But it's also important for you to recognize, well, what am I giving and who am I giving to and why am I doing it? A lot of times we feel that we are valid in what we're doing in our processes and that because we are willing to show up for people, and they do take a lot of times, you'll rarely see somebody deny being taken care of. We may fail to realize that, hey, this person didn't ask for this. I volunteered it. And when we start recognizing that a little bit more, we can kind of take a pause. Because why are you giving? Okay, what is the reason for it? Yeah, you want to be thoughtful, but are you thinking about boundaries? Are you thinking about your boundaries? Or are you thinking about this person's boundaries? When you think about being considerate, okay, are you considering the fact that, hey, am I giving this because I want to give it, or am I giving this because I want to be perceived a certain way? Am I giving this because this has never been given to me? And, you know, it's never been done for me, so I want to do it for other people. But sometimes we overlook that people in the world and in our lives may not be looking for the same things that we are. And when we understand that, we could at least flow through our relationships with a little bit more clarity. Because if you're a nurturer, 9 times out of 10, you probably say, well, yeah, you know, I always end up in these relationships with a bunch of takers. Well, how is it that you continue to stay there? If you recognize that that's the dynamic in your relationship, what's keeping you there? That in itself tells us something. If you are a perpetual giver, or you label yourself as that, I want you to just kind of, you know, quiz yourself the next time you feel like you're about to step into a space of giving and thoughtfulness. If I was to give to this person, will it be the last of what I have? If I was to give to this person, how would I feel if they did nothing with it, said nothing about it, or didn't reciprocate? Is my worth tied to what I am giving right now? If I give to this person, hopefully they see me as good enough. And you just do kind of like a yes, no, right? What's going on in my body when I show up? And sometimes we need to understand that when we are not even speaking up for ourselves, we are trying to take care of other people, but in reality, it's not. When you are given from a healthy place, that means you give people the opportunity to function in an honest relationship with you. Not this idea of what you think is going to be likable or desirable by these individuals. And when you give, you also you kind of stop giving people a pass in terms of how they are treating you. We talk about this concept of boundaries, and a lot of times people think that a boundary sounds like you can't treat me this way, or it's not right that you treat me this way. A boundary is saying, hey, I notice that there's an imbalance in this relationship, and because of that, I'm going to reevaluate how we navigate, or I'm going to stop showing up, okay? Or I'm not going to participate as much, or these are not the kind of relationships that I want to continue to invest in. That's a boundary, right? Because a boundary puts responsibility on you. We have to remember that. A boundary puts responsibility on me to do the work. It doesn't demand of a person, it reflects my discipline as a person. And boundaries do take care of other people. Yes, they may feel gross. Sometimes they may feel super uncomfortable. You may fear that this person's gonna hate me. But a lot of times, the reason you're setting this boundary in the first place because you hate how you've been treated by this individual up until this point. You are not losing out on anything. And when I talk about the mothering nature and being this person that is just genuinely thoughtful and caring and considerate and just very sensitive, it's very easy to navigate the world wounded, and it's very easy to navigate the world with this idea that I'm gonna be forever alone, or no one's like me. Or I want you to remember something: you are not that unique. And that's a beautiful thing. And what I mean by that is, like, you are not so unique that you don't have needs. You are not so unique that you can continue to give in an infinite amount without ever being reciprocated to. You are not so unique that you deserve to go through the world and not be valued. You are not so unique that you can function solely on your own resource. Okay, remember, I am not that unique that I don't deserve community, support, love, respect. Especially if I'm willing to show up with it in a very authentic way. And granted, there are some people who think that they're being a good person, and in actuality, they just want to appear good. So it's performative, right? It's people pleasing. It's a form of manipulation. Well, if I give you this and I continue to give these things, then you'll like me, okay? Maybe you'll accept me. Maybe you'll let me into certain things, or maybe you'll give me something in return that I'm looking for. And truth be told, we're all looking for something in our relationships. It's not always malicious, but what is it that you're seeking, okay? Am I seeking connection? Okay, am I seeking connection? Am I seeking somebody that I can build with? Am I seeking safety? Am I creating safety? And if you say yes, well, if I'm creating safety, that means I communicate properly. That means I have standards. That means I recognize my own level of self-esteem. That means I respect myself. And because of that, I can hold up a mirror to another person. That's being a safe space. People think, oh, I'm a safe space because you could come to me anytime you have a problem, or anytime you need me, I'm there. That's not always practicing safety. Okay, because you become a danger to yourself. I want you to picture self-abandonment to look like this. Let's say there was a clone of you, or you had a twin, and you were this twin's best friend. This twin kind of relied on you to just, hey, I rely on you to keep me safe. I rely on you to protect me, not in a codependent way or a helplessness kind of way, but it's like, I just trust that you'll make the best decisions for me. I trust that you will keep me safe. You'll honor me. You'll respect me. Okay? You'll recognize the discomfort of certain things that I'm showing up to. You will protect me from harm. You won't continue to subject me, right? This twin is saying this to you. You guys communicated this in some way, shape, or form. The first chance you get, you push your twin into a crowded room that they are very uncomfortable in, with all the things and people that they don't like or feel safe with. And you say, hey, come on, it's not so bad. And you continue to do that. You push this twin into these spaces, okay? You abandon them, right? So I want you to think about every time you continue to show up in these spaces and you give of yourself past your capacity, you're not speaking up for yourself. You're not fostering healthy relationships because you desire to be liked or desired by certain people. You are pushing yourself into spaces that are not the most conducive. That's self-abandonment. right? And I want you to keep that mental image. Or take a little kid. You push that kid into a very uncomfortable space, and they're like, hey, I don't feel safe here. I don't like these people. I don't like these things. These things make me feel bad. They hurt me. It's not just paranoia. Like, there has been historical evidence that these things are affecting me in a very negative way. And you say, hey, it's not that big of a deal. And then they come back to you and they're hurt. And you're disappointed at those people for hurting them. Versus looking at, hey, I pushed you into this. I subjected you to this. I was telling you to toughen up, or I was reminding you that it's not so bad. Sometimes when we are trying to be so nurturing to other people, we have to realize when we are neglecting ourselves. Your whole identity, and if you are a mom out there, or you're a parent, or you are someone who cares for people, again, very deeply, your goal in this life is not to self-sacrifice, so much so that your identity is lost. You are not who you want to be. You are who everybody else thinks that you should be, or who you think they think that you should be, to the point that you don't know what it is to be your own person, right? You put all these obligations and superlatives out in front of you. Oh, I'm the most helpful person. I'm the kindest person. To be kind means to be kind to yourself. Someone said to me the other day, they said, you're so nice. I was like, I'm not nice. I'm kind. I don't care to be nice. Even that took a long time for me to, say and recognize the distinction and the difference. I always say niceness is based on necessity. Kindness is based on a person's character. When we are nice, you ever see somebody nicely order a coffee, and then when the coffee's wrong, they become a savage, okay? They were just being nice in that moment because it was based off a need that they had, okay? Or people who try to, butter up to certain people because they want to get something from them. That's being nice. But kindness, right, looks a little bit different, because regardless of the situation that I'm in, I'm still going to have a certain level of groundedness and respect. It doesn't mean, hey, I'm going to let you disrespect me, but it does mean that I'm always going to be who I am, okay? I can treat people well. I can also recognize when people aren't treating me well, and I can do something about that. Kindness does not equate to allowing yourself to be disrespected, ever. Kindness does not equate to you dismissing or disregarding yourself for the sake of other people's comfort. Okay? Kindness doesn't mean protecting people from their consequences. If you continue to show up in spaces because you want to keep the peace, or you don't want to seem like the problem and you don't speak up, think about the resentment that's forming in you. And when we are resentful, it's very hard to love people properly. And it's very hard to love ourselves properly. It's very hard to see ourselves clearly. It's very hard to see other people clearly, okay? When you are in a nurturing place, remember, or ask yourself, who or what am I neglecting to be this nurturing? And if it's yourself, then you're probably not being the nurturer that you think. It's so important that we learn to be one of our biggest nurturers, right? And I say this is gender aside because we all take on roles in life where we have to protect other people, or we show up in spaces to be the protector. And that's a beautiful thing, right? Somebody knows that they can trust you. Somebody knows that you have their back. But get into that space where you start to ask, well, does this person have my back? Especially if they're capable, if they're able-bodied. We're not talking about a little kid, because that responsibility should not be on them. But when it comes to adults that you are in an equal partnership, friendship, okay, with, they also have responsibility too when it comes to you. And if you think that your only reason and purpose is to protect everybody else while leaving yourself open to anything, then you're probably doing it wrong. To nurture yourself is a necessity. To be kind to yourself is a necessity. And it's also a revealing of your actual character. If you think, well, if I start taking care of myself, then people will leave, you're being blinded by the reality that I've always had to take care of myself because these people never really showed up. The moment you start being a little bit more considerate of who you are and being more honest about how you function, you will start to cultivate healthier relationships. You will naturally have people who also have boundaries, and they will mirror what you may need to learn or what you've been practicing. All right? Sometimes it's just uncomfortable because we are so used to being in control, right? If you're constantly taking care of everybody else, then no one ever really can get that close to you. right? It is a form of control in some ways. And control, again, isn't always malicious. It's just a limitation on vulnerability, exposure to discomfort, okay? But also growth and also honest connection. There's no such thing as having healthy, genuine, authentic connections when you are not being genuine and authentic. A lot of people think that they are because they're bleeding hearts, and truth be told, that's not always it. You know, some people want to be perceived as good so they can feel better about themselves versus just doing good for themselves and in return that pouring out into other people. Like I said, it's a beautiful thing to be able to show up and be considerate of other people. However, if your consideration requires you to disregard and dismiss yourself, then it might be a problem. And let's be clear, people who practice honest, genuine self-care are not selfish, self-centered, okay? And have a high disregard for other people. That's not it. There are people who preach self-care and practice something different, and you'll see it in how they treat other individuals. But when you are genuinely in this space of self-care, that means you monitor how you feel. That means you monitor how you're showing up. That means you're willing to ask for what you need. That means you're willing to have boundaries. Okay, that means you're willing to self-reflect. That means you're willing to be honest about how you're showing up. That means you're willing to process. When you think about your ability to be so caring for other people, I want you to think about, who does people include? That word people. I'm such a thoughtful person. I'm always looking out for people. Who does that include and who does it exclude? And if when you think of people, you yourself are not in that equation, well, that's a problem. You're probably not caring the way that you think. So in the season of mental health, again, just recap and ask yourself, when I do these things, when I show up, what is my goal? Is my goal to be liked? Is my goal to be taken care of? Is my goal to give what I didn't receive? Is my goal to fix a relationship subconsciously that was never repaired? Okay, and when I do give this, am I giving from a place of abundance or scarcity? And if this person never says anything about what I do, not to say that you should be in relationships where you're not acknowledged or appreciated. However, if I'm looking for validation on every single thing that I do, then who is it actually for? What am I trying to get from this person? Okay. And will I be okay? So as you go through this month, as you go through the days, just really reflect a little bit more. I've had opportunities to reflect myself in terms of like, hey, what does it mean to show up? And it will look different on different days. I know today is going to look very different. Tomorrow, it'll probably have another look for sure. But as long as I know that I'm taking care of myself. And self-isolation is not the same thing as solitude. There's so many things I just want you guys to be mindful of in terms of the whole, caring about people and recognize when you're caring about yourself. People think that isolation is like this cool thing, and it's not. Isolation is typically a punishment. Solitude means that I still recognize the resources and community that I have that is supporting me. I'm just taking a breather. I know I always have somebody to come back to or something to come back to. Isolation means that I cut off everything because I think I deserve nothing. So just be mindful. To be mothering, to be nurturing means that you are able to be the parent to yourself that maybe you never had. You're able to be that big brother, that big sister that you've never had. You're able to be that support system that you've never had. And recognize when you are constantly pushing yourself into spaces that are hurtful. So if somebody doesn't show effort, somebody is constantly ambiguous and you are constantly trying to make sense of their behavior, okay, if somebody's inconsistent, they're not supportive, and you keep pushing yourself into that crowd, ask yourself, why am I doing that? I'm supposed to be my biggest supporter. I'm supposed to be my best friend. I'm relying on me to protect me, so therefore I should be putting myself in healthier situations. Am I doing that? Be the person that you needed when you were younger. Ask yourself, how am I doing that now? Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Happy Mental Health Awareness Month. Take flight.